Let's get ready to rumble.
Guess we're back, and I'm back, more importantly. Episode 87 of the Hibs Ramble, and I'm joined by two of my favourite Hibs people. One has a face for TV, one has a face for radio. I'll let you decide which one is which. Liam, how you doing?
Good evening. I don't think it's very nice to say that Tony's got a face for radio. It's not very nice at all, Shaun.
Tony, thanks for joining us again this evening. How you doing, mate? You good?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for having me on. When you messaged me with the stuff that you've got on here, it seemed like maybe a nice time. We could actually maybe have a nice time talking about Hibs, because all the other time right now is obviously the most negative things you can ever come across. So we talk some Hibs boys about some fun times. Sounds good.
Didn't hold your breath, Tony.
Right, aye. And plus, the last time we had you on, it was before the Derby game, and that didn't really go down too well either. So hopefully after this episode, we actually get a decent result as well. But we're not going to talk about that. We're not looking forward at the moment. We're going to be looking back to start off this evening. A couple of fun games, questionnaire, stuff like that set up as well for the boys. Stuff to get our teeth into and debate about when we were actually decent and had some decent players. So running play for tonight we're going to do our Champions League format of Hibs games. Little caveat to that is they are all victories because Hibs fans do not celebrate draws. We're not allowed to celebrate draws. And they're all games after or in the 21st century, should I say, as well. Before we came on, we also agreed unanimously that the top three are obviously the 21st of May, the 6-2, and the CIS Cup final, the 5-1 against Kilmarnock. So we're looking to kind of narrow it down and see what the remaining two would be. So we're going to do it in the format of a Champions League game. I'll come out with the two games. The boys will discuss them, decide which one gets knocked out ultimately until we get down to a winner. And then we've got a couple of other things lined up as well. So we'll get right into the nitty-gritty of it. Boys, the first two games that I want you to discuss or decide which one was better than the other. We've got the 5-3 versus Kelly in 2018, so peak Neil Lennon era. And we've got the 3-0 versus Rangers, and this one is the Ivan Sproul hat-trick one.
Well, if I'm going in your first, I think as much as the 5-3 game was like an eye-opener where you think, really, where is this team going to be able to go? That, like, you've got Canberra firing them in, you're like, that team's just been put together in January, and you're like, fucking hell, this team's way better than what it was in the first half of the season. What's possible here? But I think, you have to be frank, the Ivan Sproul hat-trick's probably one of the most iconic things that's ever happened. And Ivan Sproul's up there. I remember you were doing your cult player thing. Ivan Sproul, one season he was maybe too good to be cult, but on the whole, he's sort of like another one of the most cultable players that we've ever had, really.
I know. I think it's difficult to not say the 3-0 at Ibrox. Although that 5-3 game, I remember the end of that season. It was just so fun because we were scoring so many goals, and it was just a really fun time to be alive. I'm sure Brandon Barker scored that game. It was maybe his first. Was it his first and only goal for Hibs?
I remember him cutting in off the side, and then it was like
cutting in from the left, and then
aye.
And I'm sure Stephen Whittaker scored as well.
He did that.
That was a great goal, and I mean, I love Stephen Whittaker more than maybe as much as Josh Campbell. But I remember I went to the Player of the Year that year, and I went up to him. I was steaming. I went up to him. I was like, "You never meant that, eh?" And he was like, "I fucking did." But no, I think I would have to go for the 3-0 Ivan Sproul, just
because it's got so much lore in it as well, the 3-0 game, because you've got the Gary O'Connor getting subbed off, saying, "What the fuck is he going to do?" And then he goes on, and then Boozy picking him up after they'd apparently had the fight during the week, and Sproul was on the verge of being sent back to Northern Ireland. So in terms of, never mind just an iconic game for him, a sliding door moment for Sproul. Sproul ended up on the pitch when Northern Ireland beat England. It's like so big for him, such a big, like his whole family's there. And if he, at that point, after fighting with Boozlin, gets sent home, he doesn't come back for that. He doesn't end up going to play an English Championship and be an international footballer. So it's iconic in a Hibs sense, but it's like sliding doors from a guy who would probably have ended up just being like a semi-professional player to play in maybe one of his country's most successful historic games ever. And I'm getting lifted up by Boozy because people knew about it. And that it's just got so much lore and so much sort of almost fantasy in it. So it's just iconic.
Yeah. And to be honest,
you're
I can
right,
remember.
you're right.
I can remember all 3 of the goals, but I can't remember all 5 of the goals in the Kelly game. I remember the one that Chris Boyd scored, an absolute thunder bastard, a free kick.
Scott Brown's run in the 3-0 game where he passes it over and he skins Livingston all the way up the park. Brilliant, man.
Old school Scott Brown that as well. Aye, perfect. Next one. Speaking of iconic games, I feel like both of these are very iconic for different reasons. Liam, the second one might be a little bit. I mean, it's probably one of your favourite strips. I know when we done our strip episode all those many moons ago, this is one of your favourite strips. So you were still a wee laddie at the time. But the first one is the Falkirk 4-3 at Hampden. So the 3-0 down back to 4-3. And that one's coming up against the 1-0 against Hearts, the Gary O'Connor. So we only needed 10 men. So Liam, I'll let you kick us off with that one.
4-3-1. I think at Hampden, 3-0 down, we were absolutely shite that day in the first half.
Could have been 5.
It should have been. It should have been 4 at the very least. Anyway.
Was there not a moment? Was it just before half time?
Yeah, I think it was.
They had the chance to go 4-0 up.
Mm-hmm.
Aye.
So I mean, they really should have. They really should have had us dead and buried by half time. But I didn't really think there was any that sort of character about that team. They'd never really. I don't think they'd really shown it in many other games that season. But when the first goes in, you're like, is that Ken? What it was like? Obviously. But it was like Coventry at the weekend, didn't it? And when their first one went in, I was thinking, oh, here we go, this could be it. And it brought the memories flooding back. But it was I've got to go with that one. I mean, beating Hearts is great. I don't really remember that game very well. I probably wasn't there. I was definitely at Hampden for the 4-3 game. I think I'd need to go for that one.
Well, I've got some stories attached to both these games actually. With the Falkirk game, I left at half time with my mate and went to international.
That's funny you say that. That was going to be my follow-up question when you had finished. 1, were you there? And 2, did you leave before we actually came back? So I'm glad you answered that.
I left at half time when I went to international bar with my mate, but my now wife and another one of my pals' ex-wives now. And that we brought in a few mates who weren't mad into football. They'd come along because it was easy to get tickets. We thought we'd have a deal. Me and my mate, who I have a season ticket with, we just walked out and abandoned them, left them all in the ground. We were furious, just forgot what day. I was like, oh fuck, you can't go back in. Oh well. And then we just went into the national bar. When Owen Doyle scored, I burst my nose open because obviously there's so many goals, so many people in an international bar, so many, because it was like everyone putting that's like the biggest bar around that area. So every goal, obviously, more bevies going everywhere. And like when Owen Doyle's one goes in, when it bounces and goes in the corner, I try to run forward and I slipped and I had drinks in my hand, dropped them and smashed my nose off the ground. So I had like blood on me. But that game also was like when you thought Alex Harris was going to be amazing before Butcher sort of throttled them and scared them into having a sort of semi-professional career, allegedly, of course. But with the Gary O'Connor one, I wasn't at that game. I was in Faliraki, the first time I'd ever been on holiday, and I lost some virginity that night after that goal. True story.
Oh, unreal.
What a way to celebrate.
Unreal.
Aye, so I'm assuming we're both going with the 4-3 Falkirk. Quite a few of my mates left at half time as well.
For the winning goal when he can barely run, and he just hits it because he doesn't actually have any more in the tank to run forward it. Aye, brilliant. And then you just seen all the fans run down the front because everyone's fucked off.
I think a few of my mates buggered off at half time, and one of my other mates actually tried to go and put a bet on. This is when you could still put on bets in the stadium at Hampden, and they were refusing to take his bet for Hibs to win, like whether it was an extra time or like qualifier or anything like that. When we were 3-0 down at half time, and then obviously he wasn't too best pleased when we ended up winning because he's like, oh, I could have got my bet up and that. So, and the O'Connor one was actually on my sister's birthday, and it was the first game I'm fairly certain I went to on my own. I don't remember my dad being there. All I remember is coming home and my sister was having a birthday party and I was more buzzing than her because we'd just beaten Hearts as well. So, great day, both of them.
A big older brother coming in, absolutely steaming, fucking mashing past everyone. Who the fuck's that?
That must have been. In fairness, I think I was about 10 at the time, so imagine that.
Oh, right, okay.
That would have made it even better. Could you imagine? A couple of more recent games next then. Probably one of the only recent games that, especially under his tenure, that we could maybe get on board with, and especially this season anyway, was the 3-1 at home to Luzerne. I was going to put that away one in there, but again, you kind of get a bit more of a feel for it if you're actually there. And everyone obviously talks about how good that was at the start of the season, and rightly so. So the 3-1 against Luzerne at home is up against the Horgan derby, the 2-1. Now, I'm going to have natural bias to that because I was in the front row, and I've got a picture. It's my screensaver on my phone, and it has been since the day after the game.
He never
post it
fucking goes on about this,
every opportunity. So again, I'm not having any bias in any of these ones, but that's the two for this one. Yeah, I know where my heart lies, that's for sure.
For me, the Horgan derby is great. I was in the Heart watching it. I wasn't able to get a ticket for the game, unfortunately, but we went 1-0 down. I thought we were playing all right. And then, but that was at the time where Hearts were fucking murder as well. Like, they were going through their scattergun transfer approach. Was Craig Levine the manager at that time? I can't remember.
I think was it him or was it Stendhal? Was it?
I think it was
Boyle. Was Stendhal for the Boyle one?
Stendhal. Aye, that was Stendhal.
And they were absolutely dug meat, really. But the Luzerne game at home, that's the best I've seen us play in a long time. And for a game where I turned up thinking, we're going to get turfed out here. We'll maybe take a draw or like a 2-1 defeat over in the second leg. I mean, just here because it's Europe. And then we were brilliant. Joe Neal's goal, great. Dylan Vente's goal
as well.
Yeah, and it probably should have been. Dylan Vente's goal, the flick from Adam Lafondre. That was before kind of we'd seen an awful lot from him, and I remember talking to my dad and being like, "That's just experience, and what a player!" And then Jordan Abita as a cherry on the icing on the cake, really, innit? I was screaming on him to square it, but found a way in. I think that is, and with the boys behind the goal, I think everything about that night was fantastic, and I think I would choose that one.
I actually didn't make either of these games for different reasons. I was on my honeymoon when we were playing Lucerne at home, and I was my wife.
Did you get your hole that night and all?
Just about, and then but she was sound enough to let me. We went our separate ways at the end of the honeymoon, so I could go to the away leg in Lucerne, and I just left her to go home on the flight, and she was sound enough to let me do that. So that was absolutely class. But I watched that game on a laptop, hotspot on my phone, outside a pub in like the Amalfi Coast, just and set it all up drinking. And I was obviously going mental, and there was Italian guys there, and they were coming over asking a bit, and then they knew it was the conference and that, so that was like quite a good laugh. And then the Horgan game, I lived in Cambodia in Siem Reap at the time for about 6 or 7 months around there, and I left. I went away from I was working on a bar during the day, and I went to the sports bar there, and I got them to put it on. So that was just like during the day on my Todd watching it.
Cambodia Hibs Supporters Club.
It was bizarre though, because you get yourself you're so excited and there's no one to fucking tell. So like it's a sports bar, so they're like, and I'm like fucking buzzing out my head, like, oh, because especially the second goal's fucking amazing, and like you've even got like the Like my mate Chris, who started doing Down the Slope and that, he was saying he wanted to make his message tone because you can hear Horgan go, Stevie, Stevie. Like you can actually hear it on one of the clips. So like that was better. But the Lucerne one was brilliant because obviously what it led to as well. And you thought that the season was spinning then because obviously we got off to a bad start in those first 2 games in the league. But you thought, right, that's the motivation they needed, and that's going to be the trigger to take it on. And lucky that Albeita goal's massive, man, because without it, I don't think we would have got through because we were really struggling at points in Lucerne, and obviously like Yuan got the deflected goal at the start, and then the fucking amazing goal after it when the guy sort of just got lazy and never tracked them, and he ran and cut it back for Boyle. But that Albeita goal ended up being absolutely massive, and I gave you an idea of what things could be like and what the young team could do, what they could in the goals. I know they're quite divisive to a lot of people, but you were saying that on the good days, what it could be like.
Yeah, I mean, just
and
looking
it's
back,
it's not often that we get good European results as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's been a long time. I know we had one against Tripoli, which does make it in as well because that was a special home leg as well. But I think, like what you've already said, Liam, you know, beating Hearts, you said it for the Gary O'Connor one, beating Hearts is great, and it is like it's one of the best moments of every season if we're able to do that, when we're able to do it, should I say. But you know, we don't get to beat. I mean, Luzerne class are a bigger side than us, European wise, going into it as well.
Boy,
so to put them
who
out
did they have
as
in
well.
the middle of the park? Played for Palace. Max Meyer.
That's a big. They had another guy who's like been quoted as going for like £6-7 million. They and you saw them in flashes, especially in the home leg where they started zipping it about and we were struggling to get on top of them. But I loved that as well because it was like a good old thing of seeing like, and something that Scottish teams don't do a lot. British teams fail to do it sometimes, and what national teams fail to do, the Scottish team does it now. But rather than try and match up to them in their style when they're better than you, play the way that you know. Yeah. Like they feel uncomfortable, and we really done that day. We were so in their face. We played at such a pace in time, and then we played with 4-4-2 as well. And everyone worked their socks off. I mean, when you see like Dylan Levitt's never been able to hit that. I bet I've not seen the numbers, but I bet he's never hit those running numbers ever again in the tackling stats that he would have hit that night. So it was like the perfect night when you see what. And now looking back, it really shines badly on a lot of people in the club because you can see what people are capable of and what they've not got anywhere near doing since.
A Ballon d'Or level performance for Joe Newell as well.
It was absolutely tremendous. It was class. And I was so fucking excited when it was happening. He thought, and obviously I was trying to book my shit at the same time as it was all going on. It was fucking brilliant, man. It was so class.
What could have been this season, unfortunately. Ironically, like you said, we played 4-4-2 and then 3 months later we can't buy a win playing 4-4-2 with the same players. Next 2 games, like I said earlier on, we don't do draws here. We're not allowed to celebrate draws. So instead, I chucked in the 3-1 victory against Hearts in the Scottish Cup, which was obviously came after a draw. So that was the Grant Hall roly-poly celebration one. Jason Cummins lifting the cup celebration in front of the away end. Very, very iconic in its own right as well. Up against another game which goes down in history as probably one of the best away games, especially atmosphere-wise as well as a result. The 4-2 against Kelly in the Scottish Cup in 2013, when Rugby Park genuinely felt like it was about to collapse. I think I was right at the back, and all I could feel is the whole stadium shaking. And I came... Bit of context for that, I went to Australia in 2012, travelled Australia, came back at the big January, whatever it was, 2013, and then I was back 2 days, and then I went to Canada to go to a Swedish House Mafia concert.
All right,
then,
we're
obviously
talking.
the draw after I booked that. The draw was made, and I was like, I'm not missing it. There's not a chance. Love Kelly away. I'm going. So I landed in Glasgow airport with all my stuff and went straight to Rugby Park for the game before even going home. And honestly, brilliant decision for me. But 2 very, very tough games. So I'll let you two fight that out.
Oh, see, when you were saying the first one and it was the 3-1 game, I'm thinking there's not. That's definitely the one I'm picking, and that was a fantastic game. And it was. I think that's the you know, that I can properly remember, because I mean I was just wee for the 6-2 game, but it's the biggest win against Hearts that I can properly remember, and that is embarrassing because it's only by 2 goals.
When was the
But at
last time
same
we scored 3 against Hearts and won? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't. Apart from the Millennium Derby when we won 3-0, I can't remember the last time we scored 3 against them and won.
And it wasn't even just the 3-1. Is that could have got out of hand for Hearts. I think that was probably one of the most convincing performances we've ever had against them. We've probably 2 of the most convincing was the 1-0 in the League Cup, and that one, both in cups, where really it could have got seriously bad for Hearts. I mean, if that Hanlon's header that gets disallowed to make it 4? See if that's allowed. I think you're getting into the 60s, because they were not in it. They didn't fancy it at all by the time, and the place is absolutely rocking. It's night time, all that stuff.
Everyone had the inflatable trophies as well. Aye, brilliant.
It was a great night though, wasn't it?
And like, if fucking their goalie making a mistake for once, for Andrew Shinnie's goal, like that things never happen.
The ball at the net.
Things never happen.
It nearly finished 3-0 as well, because mine did. Marciano saved the penalty. Was it Goncalves that took the penalty?
He saved the follow-up as well. It was the 3rd attempt that went in. I'm pretty sure it was.
That's poor defending verbs, by the way. That's poor. But see that 4-2 game. That's I think, how old? What year was that? 2013.
13.
So
13.
How old would I have been? 15, 16, and I was.
You're going to show your young age now, eh?
Oh, fucking hell.
No, but I was like pure wearing gazelles to the football and Sergio Ticini and all that.
I still do that now.
I was an old 15, is what you're saying.
And I remember that game, and it was, I love quarter-final away days.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I mean, they have a special place in my heart. I remember that one especially. Both teams were wearing their away kit for some strange reason. The Lee Griffiths hat-trick. This is a difficult one, Shaun.
Matt Dunn got the other one.
Yeah, I had to remind Kevin Thompson about that the other day.
Lee Griffiths giving it the YLT celebration after he scored the hat-trick as well.
Just performances like that for Griffiths, and you're thinking like, and it just reminds you that in terms of like talent and what, like, Griffiths is like one of the players of his generation in terms of strikers in Scotland. He should have done, and this is going over old news that everyone knows, but things like that, and then obviously Scotland against England and stuff, there was moments where you're thinking, this guy is streets ahead of every other striker we've had, apart from like fucking McFadden. Like, he was brilliant player.
Oh, Shaun, I'm going to go 3-1 against Hearts, because I've not put a Hearts one forward yet, and that is that was great. I'm going
to
agree.
Yeah, we'll go 3-1
There
Hearts.
you go. Decision made then. Right, okay, so that's one half of the draw done. So we'll go to the other half now. We've got the Colin Calderwood Masterclass 3-0 at Ibrox, which was about the only decent result that he ever produced for a guy that didn't even want to be at the club. I was actually looking at that squad earlier on when I was obviously picking out the matches. Simon Brown, Michael Hart, Jonathan Grounds, Ian Murray, Francis Dicko, Sol Bamba, Edwin de Graaf, John Rankin, David Witherspoon, Liam Miller, and I can't remember the boy's first name, but the striker Trickas. Is that even how you pronounce it?
Tracky.
So that is a stinking 11. I feel bad for Liam Miller having to play alongside all of that.
That was the first points that Calderwood got.
Yes,
it's Hibs manager.
Yep.
I think did Hearts no beat Celtic 3-0 on the same night?
I think you're onto something there. I think you are. It might be the last time that maybe.
Because that used to happen all the time. The same weekend, Hibs would beat Celtic and Hearts would beat Rangers, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Would always happen. I'll tell you a funny story about that. I had Francis Dicko's name on the back of the away shirt that year. Ken, the mint green one. Yeah. Dicko 14. And the guy at the club shop who printed it was like, "You're the only guy."
Are you sure, mate?
He was like, "You're the only person who's got Francis Dicko on the back of their shirt."
I'm just picturing how slowly he's bringing down the thing to print it. Are you sure? Are you sure? Honestly, are you sure? It'd be like fucking Chris Tarrant on Who Wants to Be Millionaire. Are you sure? Is it your final answer? Are you sure?
To be fair, Who else would you go to that season? Fuck's sake, eh?
It's all Bamba, surely.
I don't know.
In fairness, I do think this one I'll be a straightforward decision for you. When I was putting the games out, I wanted to obviously vary the years as well. And listen, the 2008 to 2012, there wasn't very many results that were decent, that's for sure. So that 3-0 isn't the last Rangers result that we're going to be talking about, thankfully. But that one comes up against the Natural Order 2-0 derby. So,
Natural Order every day of the week.
Natural Order every day of the week.
Because the Rangers 3-0 game, it's just a flash in the pan, meaningless. It's just like, it didn't mean anything at the time. It was just, wow, what the fuck's going on? You weren't moving anywhere. It's like, it's mainly remember because Tracky's played out his fucking skin. He didn't score, but he did. And the Natural Order derby that's an iconic moment for Hibs, because it shouldn't be. Beating Hearts 2-0 at home shouldn't be quite so iconic, but it is. And we managed to get up Craig Levein, who we don't really get up very too often.
Yeah.
fair play to
How
Craig
funny
Levein
was that?
fair play to him for like standing on the pitch and Barry getting the picture of him with the flag behind and stuff like that. You said the Ivan Sproul game was iconic for certain images as well. That game will go down in history for being iconic for certain images as well. That's for sure.
I tell you what, Craig Levein, he has got some patter on him, man.
Try says humour, yeah. Always.
I think he's funny as fuck. But after St Johnstone beat us at Easter Road, and he went, "Oh, love it." I was pissed at myself, man. I was fuming we got beat, and then I seen that, and I was like, it's actually quite funny.
Aye, it's good. I think I went for a Scottish breakfast for this game. I went with the Wellington Hibs Supporters Club, so it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. So, like, obviously the game was at night here in Edinburgh. So I went to, and there was about 30 people. It was a proper supporters club. Like, there was a lot of them, and you paid $20, and they opened a bar downstairs at 8 o'clock in the morning for everyone to come in, and they made you like a Scottish breakfast. It was part of it with a carry-on brew, and they had tenants on and all that. So it was pretty good. But we got a message from Neil Lennon at halftime, like got it all pre-recorded. And he said, like, the most, like, doesn't give a fuck. Thanks very much for everyone getting up and coming to watch the game. Brilliant. And then it was away. And then the fucking feed cut out just before McLaren's goal. So it came back and it was 2-0. But it was a brilliant game. Absolutely brilliant. Class.
Good night out.
If there's one thing I've learned so far, and we're only halfway through these games, is that Hibs only win decent games when Tony's in another country.
Well, mate,
when are you away next?
I don't think I'm trying to have a bear in the now, so I think my proper travels, living properly abroad, might be come to an end. But I lived in Melbourne when we won the cup and everything. So
for fuck's sake.
My last game before I went there, and I've beaten that, and I go to every game when I'm here. And like the last game that I was at the semi-final when we drew 0-0 with Dundee United, that went through, and then I knew I was heading, and I was fucking spewing it today. I was like, I fucked this up because I booked it so far before it. I hadn't even considered the fact that I might win the Scottish Cup. I watched that in Charles Dickens. If you've ever been to Melbourne, that's like where all the Hibs games are. There's a weirdly, it's like basically like a Hibs pub almost. They've got like Hibs memorabilia in the middle of Melbourne. It's weird, but you would never guess it. But there's loads of Hibs fans, loads, because Melbourne's obviously loads of people in Scotland live in Australia. Well, it's really, really common. But I've seen us get relegated twice, been on the playoffs, seen us get humped by Hearts a million times. But I've missed quite a few of the most iconic ones. I was there for the whole Neil Lennon tenure, basically.
So we've got Nick Montgomery's got you to blame for his shit running form then, is that what we're saying?
I've been turning up.
Okay. It could potentially be another Hearts game that we're going to go through in the next two. So the next one is the 1-0 against Hearts in the Scottish Cup, which was the first time we played them after they beat us in the 2012 Scottish Cup final. So it was the next day, the Witherspoon deflected shot. I was in Australia for that one, so I can't really speak too much about what it was like on the night. I really hope it was absolutely vile and disgusting, which is exactly what I'm after. And that game's up against another European result of recent history, the 3-2 at home to Tripoli, where we were 2-0 down. 2-1 down.
2-0 down in like 20 minutes, I think it was.
Ambrose
records.
scores, Canberry scores, David Gray scores in like the 90th minute or something like that as well. So I just remember there being really good limbs at that one as well. And again, it was like a summer night. It was really warm, sun was setting, good vibes. So, but I obviously can't speak for the 2013 one as well. So I'll let you debate that one.
I was at the Witherspoon one, and obviously that was quite a cathartic experience. Obviously, because it had possibly our worst result in our history, and before that, and obviously we were hoping that they'd have the short. I mean, when you really think about it, it's meaningless, but them having the shortest time as being holders in the cup, and that game was fucking rotten. It was absolutely rotten.
It was. We were minging and all.
It was a terrible game, and exactly how you think Witherspoon hits a speculative effort. He was playing right midfield or right back during this period as a Hibs player, and it just takes deflection and it loops right over the goalie and goes in. But it was good. The pubs were good after that. It was like, as I say, just relief, and it was just like firing back when obviously you've had such a bad moment. It probably does mean quite a bit, even if you don't look at it. I saw Gary O'Connor get lifted outside the harp after this game in his red gilet. We met him on the street walking down, and everyone was like, "Hey, Gary O'Connor." Then we came out of our pub, and you could just see him getting huckled outside. Don't know if he got it. I don't know what happened, but that's definitely he was definitely.
See, when you watch the replay of that goal for the reverse angle, if it doesn't take a deflection, I genuinely think it's going out for a throw in.
Yeah.
It absolutely shanks it. And it takes I can't imagine it takes a deflection off him. It ends up in the back of the net.
I think it's Aliukas, if memory serves me correct.
The 3-2 Tripoli one was good though, and we were good that night as well.
They scored rakers. It was the goals they scored were absolute peaches. Like you just thought you were being stung by, they're just good. You know, like when there's nothing you can really do.
Did they not score like right at the start? Like first couple of minutes?
And then the guy scored for like the touchline. And like rockets in.
They scored.
Yeah.
That's what it says. They scored very early on as well, but we just kind of carried on the whole vibes for the end of the end of last season. Obviously, like the 5-5, the 5-3 that we already mentioned as well. You know, Lennon's record points and stuff like that, and then we just kind of carried that on. Do you know what I mean? We kind of felt once we got that one goal back that we were going to get another, and then we were going to get another, and then that carried over into the away leg as well. So
the away leg was class.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
No, the away leg is by far one of the best trips I've ever. It's best Hibs trip I've ever been on. Best away game I've been to. I broke 2 ribs celebrating John McGinn's goal. So I was
watching it in my dad's car on my phone. We were either coming back somewhere or going somewhere. I remember watching it on my dad's on my phone in my dad's car. And go mental in the car, and he was like, "What? Who's fucking scored?" Because I think the stream that I was watching, it never had any commentary of that, and I was like, it was confusing for him. Nearly crashed the fucking motor, but no, I'm going to go Tripoli at home, man.
Aye, even though I was at the Witherspoon one, the Tripoli one, that was that 3-year period when I was away. So I was there about what
I remember the. Sorry, Tony, I'll let you finish. Sorry.
I was traveling in Asia at the time, so I bought a really nice hotel to guarantee really good Wi-Fi. That's what I was doing. Like, we need to do that, and it was like pretty early. I was like, man, I need to sit in the pool watching it on the laptop, and nearly slammed it shut when I went 2-0. But it was class, and that was when I was really feeling the heat at that point about the fact that I have just missed the best period to support Hibs. I think 2016 to 2019. That is the best period, and now there's fucking European results coming at the time. And then when I watched the LA League, it looked fucking class because of the just being in the cage. There's something magical about being caged animals.
It was vile. It was disgusting. It was concrete steps. There was no seats. It was an absolute dump. It had been torrential rain the whole day. We turned up and thought the game was going to get called off. All the Hibs buses went straight to the stadium. We saw how bad it was. It genuinely looked like tea in the park outside. How bad the mud was outside. And then it was just non-stop singing the whole game. And I don't really think. I mean, Bogdan played out his skin in that way. Like if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have got through in the first place. Tremendous. Doesn't he?
He's great for us.
And then obviously John McGinn scores the goals, and I didn't drink anyway, as it is. So when he scored, it's limbs everywhere. Like I can't watch it enough. And I've tumbled 5 or 6 rows, and I was actually recording at the time. I don't know why I was recording it on my phone because we were on the attack, and you can see me like tumble down, and then the video just randomly cuts out. Didn't know I'd booked the Ribs at the time. 3-hour bus journey back to the hotel, and then 3 flights on the way home. We went from Athens to Milan, Milan to Manchester, Manchester to Edinburgh, and because we kept going up and then down, obviously with like the air pressure and stuff like that, it was making my ribs even worse.
Oh.
So by the time we landed in Manchester, Jamie McLaren was announced as signing as well. So like I was buzzing that he'd been announced, but I was dying inside, and it wasn't until like 2-3 days later that I went and even got checked as well. But honestly, by far best trip.
Fucking class, man. Brilliant.
The next one is a derby face-off. We've got the 1-0 at Tynecastle, the famous Ross Chisholm midfield. Derek Ireland scores the penalty when we've got hands down the single worst starting 11 I've ever seen line up at Tynecastle, versus the 2-0 Boyle derby, which, does that play a part in sending them down? I'll let you decide. But when we faced them, the two early Martin Boyle goals, and then the famous video of us singing "Hearts Are Going Down, Going Down."
There was the party after the Boyle 2-0 game, and
It was Boxing Day, wasn't it?
I think it was. You know, what fucking hell, I can't believe Malone's. The party after it, just because they just put on like 90s classics and like Ministry of Sound tunes for like the noughties. That's what they always do. So everyone's just changing all the lyrics to Hearts Are Going, like Fats and Small. What's wrong with you? And it was brilliant. That was one of my favourite like after match, because it's so good having the pub. They are 2 floors, so you feel like basically everyone can go. It's not like every single person who wants to can go and have the party. So that was one of my favourites. But I heard the one with the boy running the ghost. The famous ghost. That is, everyone remembers that when he tries to punch and he falls over with punching Random. So it's a tough call.
It's a tough call, isn't it? I think I'd probably go for the Boyle one. I remember it better. I watched I would have been 10 or 11 for the Riordan Derby one. Watched it on the telly, and we were minging like that. That was a minging lineup.
The Mixu was he?
Yeah, aye. And then the boy, was it Fisas or something that gets sent off?
Mm-hmm.
Karapidis, one of
the Greek guys.
Aye, gets sent off for the penalty. I couldn't believe it that we'd got a penalty. I was thinking, fucking hell. But no, the Boyle one was great. I watched it in the Harp with my dad on Boxing Day. Went fucking mental, man. It was top quality. I'm going to go for that one.
Another derby victory where I was front and centre. Love it.
You wonder your ribs keep getting smashed a bit.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like final 2, and then we're right into the nitty gritty of the knockout. Now that we've at that point spoke about all the games, a very, very famous one, and a very, very empty Easter Road that day. 4-0 against Rangers, 2014. The David Gray wonder goal for the edge of the box. Like, nobody's seen that result coming. So we've got that one. I'm pretty sure it was like Scott Allen and Danny Hanlon that ran the show that day as well. Ridiculous.
Hanlon had a few good games.
Another Rangers game. He did. He did. I'm sure Sam Stanton had a really good one against Rangers at some point as well. And that's up against another one, but this time a little bit further back. It's 3-0 again, reoccurring theme here against Rangers, but this one is the Scottish Cup one. And you won't be surprised to know, Tony, I was front row but in that one as well. So there's a reoccurring theme here. You're always abroad, and I'm always in the front row when we get good results.
The 3-0 one because that was like Killen scored, had good commentary in that one, Ian Crocker, when he full named him Christopher Killen, when he went in for the really tough angle and it rolls.
And we had the full stand as well, which again we speak about iconic moments.
You see it, and obviously Sproul tearing them up again because he rips them up for Gary O'Connor's header at the back post. It was a really good performance. Again, like we're talking about the Colin Caldwell one, it's just that's a vast bad. This felt like a good team ripping Rangers apart. So it was really class. And what was the other one? Sorry.
The 4-0 at home.
The 4-0 at home. Against Rangers.
Liam Craig with the cushioned instep volley from like a.
Some of the football we played that day as well was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Scott was unreal.
The pass for the Liam Craig one, like a sort of looping dinked, like volleyed pass almost. It didn't look real, like a real. And then he's just like, and that's what you mean when the football just starts to get outrageous. And everything you're doing just comes off, even if it doesn't look right, and it's all happening at such fast pace.
Scott Robertson was even like a 10 out of 10 that day. That says it all.
Yeah. Brilliant. This is one of the hardest ones because 2 humpings and they were both really good performances.
Yeah, I mean Rangers were terrible that 4-0 game. That was a really bad Rangers team. But when we go 4-0 up at home against Rangers, I'm thinking, what the fuck is happening here? And we were really good. And that was kind of the time when I was, after obviously we get relegated, it was the time when I was starting to fall back in love with Hibs. Cummins was firing all cylinders. Scott Allen was amazing. I think because
that was like the beginning of, we could see what is potentially going to happen. It took us a while to get out the Championship, and we would have never in our wildest dreams thought we'd go on and lift the Scottish Cup. But you could see that type of performance, the way that they were playing. You can understand why like Alan Stubbs is so highly regarded regardless of the Scottish Cup win as well. Do you know what I mean? Building that squad from absolutely nothing, playing that football, regardless of how poor Rangers were. Do you know what I mean? You've still got to go there and face them.
That was in his first season, wasn't it? That was our first season down.
Aye. It's when we had the dark bottle green strip.
That's the worst Hibs strip of all time, by the way.
And you're right, because it's before he's really been able to put his full number on that team. He doesn't have McGinn. Doesn't have Fivey, I don't think. He doesn't. I think he has McGeoch possibly.
I think it was the December of 2015. Correct me if I'm wrong.
27th.
So, like you're saying, it's like you can see what he's trying to do in terms of like he making players better. At that point, you can see what his vision is in terms of how we're going to play as a football team. And I know Stubbs has went on to have a hopeless managerial career, but at the time, I feel like he gave Hibs dignity back, and not just on the pitch. It's the way he spoke off the pitch. He was always quite bullish. He was quite aggressive, and he would always defend the team, even at times when they didn't deserve it. So I feel like it was like kind of a unique one, kind of like maybe like John Collins and stuff. It's just right manager, right club, right time, and all that, when it doesn't really work anywhere else. Because Stubbs is just basically not a manager now. I mean, I think it's hard to fathom, because he's just not a manager. He's barely even a fucking pundit. I watched the Rangers game in the pub, the away one. I didn't go. I watched it in the Corian or something like that, and then. But the 4-0 one I was at, so I'm probably more fond of the 4-0 one.
I think I would be going for the 4-0 one as well. I like you, Tony. I was there, and I just don't want Shaun to have the satisfaction of going, "Oh well, I was in the front row."
But I think people will be screaming at their phone.
I'm struggling not to scream at you now, to be fair.
It's a fair one. I mean, it would probably be fair enough that you're allowed to have a veto at one point over the whole.
No, not at all. No, you have decided the 4-0. We'll go with the 4-0. Whether that is right or wrong, I'll let everyone else
disagree. A lot of people disagree with that one.
And if you disagree, then
but then in fairness,
get your own podcast.
Could me fucking kill us.
But then, in fairness, you've got to think. I mean, obviously, if that 3-0 goes through, what is that then going to be up against from the other side of the draw, so to speak, of the games that we've discussed? So, would it have ended up winning? I don't know. I guess time will tell. That takes us back to the beginning, and we're going from one 3-0 against Rangers, which you've kicked out, to one that you've kept in. The 3-0 Ivan Sproul game up against the 4-3 Falkirk. We've obviously spoke about both games already, both iconic in their own right. What one's going through?
Still has to be Sproul for me, I think, overall.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, also what happens after that Falkirk game isn't good.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that earlier on as well when I was talking about it. I was like, oh, it was a brilliant game, obviously, but nah, I agree, Tony. I think the Ivan Sproul one's got to God, I feel dirty saying that though, because that's one of my favourite games ever. That 4-3 Falkirk game. But I think for that Hibs team that beat Rangers 3-0 at Ibrox, the Ivan Sproul game was outrageously good. Outrageously
Rangers
good.
were a very good team. They'd step across
Yeah,
that.
they were superb.
Good team.
I remember Kevin Thompson speaking about that on the episode that we done with him a couple of weeks ago now, and he spoke highly of the squad that we had at that point, and they felt they could go toe to toe with Rangers and Celtic for that matter. And you had players like him turning up, running the show. Scott Brown, like you already said, Tony, going box to box as well. So, and again, I mentioned earlier on about why people hold Alan Stubbs in high regard. That's why people hold Tony Mowbray in high regard. So I mean, he's able to make those tough decisions, taking Gary O'Connor off, putting Ivan Sproul on, and he goes and gets a hat trick, and we go and take the game to a Stefan Kloss type Rangers as well. So I'm glad you're keeping that one in, that's for sure. Right, so that takes us to 3-1. 2 games that are both ended 3-1, one being Luzerne, one being Hearts.
Luzerne for me.
I'll go.
Wow.
Oh, it's really hard because I mean you're talking about one of our best. We also beat Luzerne overall in that to go through as well, which gives it in hindsight.
I know
it's a bit better.
My first instinct was Luzerne, and then I'm thinking, well, that's apart from derbies that we've lost, from derbies that we've won, that's the most confident I've ever been. Going into a derby, I was like, we are going to absolutely rattle them tonight. And we did.
I'm not going to sway your decision, but I'm absolutely 100% going to try and sway your decision. Not only is it, like Liam's already said, the biggest win that we've given our local rivals in such a long time. It's a dominant performance. Could have been a lot more, like you said yourself, Tony. You've got 2 very, very iconic celebrations. The Jason Cummins one, lifting the cup in front of the away end as well. Everyone standing there with the inflatables. I don't know if you want to kick that one out. I mean, if you still want to go Luzerne, you can still go Luzerne, but that's my thoughts on the matter.
Well, I take it you get to decide and vote if I go for that.
I mean, I get it. Yeah, we'd have to.
I don't know. Like, I might change my mind now.
I'll go for 3-1 against Hearts. So it's the best. It's arguably our best performance ever against them outside of the 6-2 game.
And it was a great strip as well.
Underrated strip, I think.
I
remember
strip.
when it came out, probably myself included, were moaning about how plain and bland it looked, but
the away one was a bit pish.
Very, very like crisp. A very, very
really
nice
like kit. Proper like old school.
Aye,
I liked it.
Proper
I'll
Hibs
go 3-1 against Hearts. I'll be swayed. Peer pressure me. I'll do it. Fine.
Not like you.
Not like me at all.
Right, so one European game up against Hearts done, and over to the other side of the draw for another European game against another Hearts victory. This time, the Natural Order derby versus the Tripoli one.
Natural Order
as well. I prefer the Natural Order to the 3-1 one possibly.
Yeah, so they are.
Oh, you could
I want to go back and put this there. I want to go back.
we were even better. We were even better that night, the 2-0 game, than we were in the 3-1 game. I thought we were outstanding that night.
I remember coming home for that game, and in proper old school fashion, I'd pre-recorded it because it was on the TV, and I went back home and watched it again. But there was a clip doing the rounds of Chris Commons and James McFadden in the wee TV box with, I can't remember who was hosting the show. Probably, I think it was Hayley Barber as well. Maybe, could be wrong. And they get asked the question, so where do Hearts go for here? And there's just an iconic moment where like Chris Commons and James McFadden look at each other like, I don't know, like both, because Hearts were so bad at that point, and they were just like, I don't know, they were stinking, they were bad.
We absolutely strangled them to death that night. The amount of times Barker would just carry us up the pitch 50 yards constantly. Like you just keep on doing it, keep on coming back, and they were never able to get the ball off him. Sometimes it breaks down with the crossover, but it just kept on coming. They couldn't tackle him. And then you had Paul Hanlon just swinging it out to Martin.
Absolute Beckenbauer performance for Paul Hanlon.
So many times that big switch over. And that was during a period where Paul Hanlon was really, like the period where he really looked like he could if he managed to last that one a bit earlier and a bit longer, he might have actually got a move away for Hibs because he looked so good in the left of a back three with that passing range that, strange enough, seems to have kind of half deserted him.
That Paul Hanlon diag is a genuine staple. Me and Mark talk about it all the time when we're at the games. Love a Paul Hanlon diag. That was at the point in time where we always thought that, well, we had Boyle on one side and Barker on the other, and we thought all we need to do is get in behind their fullbacks because they'll play a three and push their wing backs right on. And that's what we did every time. And we got joy every time. And
that was great. It was
great. Any sane manager would think, oh, let's play a flat four, but no.
And that Scott Allen goal, such a peach, such a great goal, such a unique goal. It's a unique goal. You don't see it. A sliced daisy cutter. Just don't see that very often.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Weaker foot as well. Brilliant. And
the whole build up
of. Sorry, I was just going to say there's a photo of the famous five in Scott Allen as he slid on his knees, and there's just that one boy standing on the brick wall in the famous five like that as well. I'm
glad the front row thing take heats off me because there's probably people go, that what's he going to say? Where was he this time? Taking real heat off me.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I might just buy a season ticket in the front row, and then it might just bring us some luck.
Sounds good.
At Tynecastle, a front row Tynecastle seat.
Right, okay. Final two, and then that takes us into the semi-finals. The Boyle derby 2-0. Excuse me. Up against the 4-0 at home, the Rangers game.
See that again?
I don't think we were overly good that 2-0 game. Apart from
the Boyle, to be fair, the Boyle derby, we started like a house on fire. It was Jack Ross that was in charge at the time as well. Maybe could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Two early goals, and what frustrated me with that one is we just kind of in true. No, Hecky was Horgan.
Mm-hmm. Aye,
Hecky was Horgan. And in true Jack Ross fashion, we just kind of shut up shop and left it there. And Hearts, like we already said, were stinking that season. So again, that could have been another opportunity. We could have done a wee bit more damage.
I'm pretty sure they hit the bar that day in the second half, and they had a really good chance in the first half. The Japanese boy that they built a whole Japanese website for, who turned out to be shite, I'm sure he hit the bar.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? Because he scored a lob against Rangers, that guy as well. Aye. They did. When everyone was just caught trying to go down the Japanese route. Even I think Hearts done that before, the Postecoglou stuff. So maybe they were the trailblazers.
Well, I mean, then you go back to Nakamura though, eh? So
who
started it?
But I think I would probably go the 4-0 Rangers.
Yeah, I think the 4-0 because it was a proper performance throughout the whole game, and then the 2-0 one, it was a 20-minute spell, and I genuinely think that after that, like Hearts probably had the better of it. Like for the rest of the game, didn't really do anything with it because their forward players were dug meat. But the 4-0 against Rangers for me.
I'm looking at the 4 games that we've got left, and I'm looking at the 2 semi-finals, and I'm glad I'm not the one making the decision. 2 games against Hearts, 2 games against Rangers, both up against each other. We've got the Sproul 3-0 versus the 3-1 Hearts at home in 2017. And the other side of the draw is a natural order versus the 4-0.
I think I know what my final's going to be, Tony.
Let's just say it. Just say it.
I think my final's going to be Sproul versus natural order.
Yeah, I think I agree. So we can maybe just get to that right now. Quickly.
Really? I thought. Do you know what? I thought you were going to go the other way. I thought you were going to go 3-1 and 4-0.
I just the 3-0 Sproul just think is just I can't think of a just as I said when I said it earlier, the lore and all that behind it. Just there's so many things to go back to in that there isn't in the same type of results. And as I said, the effect it had on a cult player and all that, so that really sticks with me. And I think if you ask outsiders, they would probably be one of the first games that they would mention as a Hibs result. Is that specific game? I think that was the one that they would come out with. and the natural order derby, it just felt like a time we were better than Hearts.
Yeah.
Really better, really better. And it was like, and that was, even though we finished fourth, it was the closest we've ever been to really doing something ridiculous in the league. We could have finished second.
Was
We'd
it
had those
that
two
award
players
or
at
the
the
one
start.
when we
Could have
were
still
giving it
finished
the
second.
old "here we go" 10 in a row?
Aye,
Was,
yeah.
had it gone at that point? Aye.
So I think we could have, and at that point, even though we've had so many points under Lennon and we played so well, and you just think if we'd had Canberra and McLaren for the start, I think we would have finished second.
We would have won the fucking
Rel-
league.
Yeah.
Relatively comfortably, we could have finished second.
Yeah.
We really could have, but as long as the injuries, blah blah blah. But I really do. It's just like it's such a fun team, and Lennon's such a when the going's good, Lennon's as fun manager as you could possibly have because there's a game that he didn't mention that I really thought you would, and it's not been in the whole thing, and it was when we beat Rangers 3-2 at Ibrox and we came back from that. That's one of my favourite ones
The
because
Slivka one.
they were choking.
It's funny.
They were
It's
fucking
funny you say
choking to
that.
beat us. They were fucking choking to
Aye.
beat us because of what had happened before. And for us to come and go there with Lennon doing that, I think
He was
that would,
got that as well, eh?
I think that would have stung them more than nearly any results they would have had in their lifetime in the cup final. Like I think that will be a scar on Rangers fans. That one possibly more so than
It's funny you say that, Tony, because that game I pied. I didn't pie it. I still went there. One of my best mates was getting married that day, and I went to Ibrox instead. And he's a Celtic fan, so he understood. So it was all good. And the wedding was at the zoo. So like I went straight to the zoo afterwards. It was I spoke about it on here. That 3-2 is one of the first, other than the O'Connor game, like it was the first away game actually that I've been to on my own. And there was not a single thing in the world that would have stopped me going that day. The first time we were playing them since we beat them in the Scottish Cup final, I fancied us heavily to take something off them. Slivka obviously scoring that brilliant goal for outside the box as well. That game is up there for me and one of my all-time favourite games. I guess the question I'd pose to you is, would it beat any of the four that are there?
I think it beats the 4-0 at home.
It would have beat the 4-0 at home for me, definitely. Because I think because it was just so funny. It was just so funny to do it to them again. and obviously they would have been well up for the game. Well up, that's the thing. The club would have been well up for it. And the fans would have been desperate to put us in our place. And for us to go and do that was
another one that I didn't include in there, just purely because I didn't want it to be too many recent games, and I didn't want them all to be just Rangers and Hearts, was the Scott Allen return at Ibrox, where we had Lewis Stevenson at centre half with.
Oh, is that when McLaren scored a penalty?
And Jamie McLaren got off the mark, scored the penalty 2-1. I was going to include that one as well, but again, just trying to get a mixture. And that's another one. There was a spell where I went to Ibrox and didn't see us lose until Hecky was in charge.
We were definitely Rangers bogey team, as much as you can be a bogey team to where they all from. You know, it's not every single game, but I think we were their bogey team, and we're really paying for it now. Now we've got our worst running results against anyone ever against Rangers.
We really pissed them off.
I think it is like almost that we had it too good against them, and it's shit for them because everyone else's our bogey team, if you know what I mean. We're the soft touches for all the other teams, really, that think they can always get big results against a quote unquote big team. So that happens to us quite a lot, and it was quite fun that we had that against Rangers. And the only thing we've still got left is and you've never done the Martin Boyle hat trick, which another one I'm surprised about against Rangers at Hampden.
Do you know what? I completely forgot about that.
Because I think that would be really quite high.
Yeah,
and again, I couldn't go to that. I booked it, bought a ticket, was in there, I got COVID, couldn't go.
Oh man,
that's actually a really, really good point. I don't know why. I've just completely wiped that from my memory. Brilliant.
What that game that was,
well.
by the way.
Aye.
I couldn't believe it. That was when we got the penalty. I was reeking, right. Me and Mark were before the game. We went to. I think it was a Celtic supporters club, just along the road for Hampden, and everyone was playing all the Hibs tunes and that, Proclaimers and all that. And Mark went to me, fucking, how funny would it be if someone Someone just went up to the jukebox and put Adele on, and I was like, "Oh, that'd be a belter." He looked at me like that. He was like,
Which,
"It was
did he
like I've
go for
already
like
done
a slow
it."
one, or did he do like Rolling in the Deep, or was he going for?
He put on. I
Never
think
mind,
it was
I'll
just
find
when
someone
that.
like you or whatever.
It was when Easy on Me first came out, and he put that on, but he put it on like 3 times in a row. So the vibe just went fucking through the floor, man. And then when we get the penalty, I was in the pisser, and I heard the roar, and I was like, "Oh fuck, Rangers must have scored." And then I checked my phone. I was like, "Oh." Like checking Hibs Twitter, and it says penalty Hibs. So I fucking ran out with my bobby out, like back into the stands, like fucking.
Gets lifted.
And then I watched the penalty arm in arm with Big Frank Dugan, and after we scored, I went, "They can't beat us here, Like we just can't get beat off an Rangers." And he went, "Fucking did he say that?" Rest in peace, Frank. Gone but never forgotten. That's my memory of him.
So bringing us back to where we are, these are pretty unanimous that it's going to be the Sproul versus the Natural Order. Just with the ones that we've just mentioned, the 3, funnily enough, all against Rangers. Do you think any of those ones would maybe get ahead of that one? Maybe the Hampden one?
Possibly.
Or do you reckon the Natural Order one's just too iconic to stay ahead, to be ahead of it?
No, I don't think the Hampden one beats it. We were great first half, then we were shite second half.
Aye, we just had to hold on. The 3-2 game away at Ibrox is a personal favourite of mine. I just think it's quite a unique thing we'll never be able to do again. Is to do it like that.
I'm there with you. I'm 100% there with you.
There was a year we couldn't play them as well, so they had to stew on it for a year till we came up. So I guess you'll never be able that situation. You'll never be able to recreate again.
By far the most vile, toxic atmosphere I've ever experienced, and I would relive it every day of my life. Every day.
But I think for me, the Natural Order one's probably like the better game, but I still think the Sproul one's probably more iconic. To outsiders, I'd say the Sproul one is the iconic game there, personally.
It is, but I think I prefer Natural Order. I think I would say, if they were up against each other, if I had to relive one of them again, it would be the Natural Order one. But that might just be because I was older for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I was, able to go out afterwards and have a good time. For the Sproul one, I would have been just a nipper. So,
but these things really do matter, Liam. Because like one of my favourite ones is when one of the first times I was able to go to Tynecastle where I could drink was when we beat them 2-1 when Dean Shields scored.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really iconic. I know that's a really iconic game for loads of people my age. Like that, I know everyone has been to it because everyone was able to go. I think we were like 17, 18, so you were able to go to the Roseburn before it. You're able to do the thing you had been looking forward to for years, and then we won, and you were able to go to a nightclub after it and do the full thing. So these things really do matter because it becomes a whole day rather than just a game that you go to. There's more to it.
Natural Order was a Friday night as well, wasn't it? I think it was the first Friday night derby.
Aye, it was because I was watching on a Saturday, but I think I was a Saturday morning. I was ahead.
Aye, I'm going for Natural Order. I think Friday night. I remember I got a half day for work. I went with one of my mates for work. My dad, I think, was on holiday, so my mate took his season ticket, and we were absolutely blown away. And like we could, oh man, it was just so good. I'm going to go Natural Order.
Fair enough. I'm not.
So you might need to have the deciding vote here, Shaun.
Tell me what, Shaun. If we've gone all this way, you do have the deciding vote, right? You do it. Put the pressure on the guy who hosts. You can take on the stick.
I was there for both. But no. Do you know what I'm going to do? Anytime I get a ticket and I'm the front row, I'm sending you a picture every time. Do you know what? I'll go Natural Order. They're two very, very iconic matches. For similar reasons, iconic images that come out here, iconic results. We kept a clean sheet in both of them as well, which is good. Listen, they're probably both on par, but I think just like both of you spoke about earlier on, the vibes around the club at the time, of the Natural Order, the way that we were kind of not owning Hearts at that point, but we definitely had their number. Unfortunately, it kind
Closest
of
we'll ever
unravelled
get
after
to.
that. But
It's first close
So-
we'll ever get to Owen Hearts. You know what I mean?
exactly, we need another 60 wins against them to get anywhere near owning them. But for that small period of time when we clearly had a better side and we were going into those games knowing that we were going to get a result.
And Neil, as I said about Neil Lennon, not perfect by a long way, not perfect that game. And the times are good, absolutely brilliant. And Neil Lennon's one of those. He's a short-term manager that anything. He's the kid. If someone was to win the league against the old firm, it would be a manager like Lennon. It would be a one-off season where he's able to get under the player's skin to the point that he pushes them to beyond what they're normally able to do and what they think's acceptable. You know, like kind of like the old school way of pushing, like Jim McLean or something like that. These are the people that can make people great and go beyond what they're capable of. That can't last long enough. People can't be treated that way and be that highly strung for too long. But it would be like, so at that time you really were thinking, fucking hell, anything could happen with this team. You could, like I said, finishing second, maybe making like champ. I have no idea. Doing things in Europe and that. You thought, or if another season, if you kept the team together, what could you fucking do? You know, like and that bit again. I said it's also with a guy like Lennon. It's always like Mourinho kind of vibes as well. The poor man's version.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just going to say Neil Lennon, the SPFL, Jose Mourinho.
It's like so like things are possible under him that probably wouldn't be possible under other managers. But again, it's a year max you've got to do it to make the achievement.
And then the chairs start flying and
then he's abusing people, so he don't like it.
Right,
I don't even know that was a joke. That was a joke.
So the top 5 21st century Hibernian matches leaves us with the 21st of May, the CIS Cup final, the 6-2, the Natural Order, and then Ivan Sproul. That's no bad, eh? That's not that bad.
That's not bad. At least we won them all.
And if we want, we can chuck the Boyle at Hampden and the 3-2 Slivka just underneath it, Tony. We can squeeze them in.
Good man.
That's
Honourable
not bad.
mentions.
That's not bad. Brilliant. Absolutely love that. Right. What we're going to move on to now, boys, is you are going to have a section each and then you are going to do one joint. So what we're going to do a wee section called Winner Stays On. We'll fire through it, and then if we want to chat about the player awards or any honourable mentions and stuff like that, we can rattle through it. Nice and easy. Winner Stays On. Tony, I'll put you to go first. In fact, no. Liam, you can go first. Tony, I'm going to give you the midfielders. I feel like I know what Liam would go with the players that I've put down here for the midfielders, so I'm going to give Liam the defenders instead.
Have you got Josh
So
Campbell
3
in there,
sections. We've got defenders, midfielders, and then you'll do strikers together and you'll decide on that one. Nice and easy. For those that don't know how it works, I will give the boys 2 players, basically a head-to-head. They'll pick one, winner stays on. Nice and easy. So we'll start with the defenders. We've got Rob Jones, Liam, up against Darren McGregor. Now, before we get into this, and I'll give you some time to think about it, before anyone in the comments or anyone on Twitter or anything starts coming for us, I've deliberately left out Frank Sozzi and Russell Latape because, 1, they're clear of everyone else that has played for the club in the 21st century, and 2, it's no fair on the rest of the players. So it doesn't necessarily need to be based on quality. Doesn't need to be based on the time that they had as a player away from Hibs or at Hibs. It's completely, you can base it on whatever you want. But yes, Rob Jones or Darren McGregor. Let's go.
Captain Fantastic, Rob Jones or Darren McGregor, YLT. Oh, that's a sick question.
That's sick. It is, because like Jones was like obviously a cup winning captain, but also feels like I would try to work out. Is he the last defender we spent any fucking money on? Like the last thing we actually dropped actual cash on a defender or a centre half at least. And you would never have guessed Jones was going to be so good. You thought Bambi, oh nice, this guy's going to be all over the place. So I was shocked at how good Jones ended up being.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
I got it song as well.
He was a proper leader and all. Proper leader.
PE teacher. Yeah, that's what it comes from.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go, Tony.
There we go. That's class.
Big man shut.
That is class.
What size is that? That's an extra large.
That is such a difficult question, though.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't get that one.
Oh.
Tony, if he's got that for the defenders, imagine what you're going to have to deal with for the midfielders.
Right, I'm going to make a decision here. And I'm going to go Rob Jones.
Right, Rob Jones, Rocky Bushiri.
Rob Jones.
Rob Jones, Liam Fontaine.
See, unpopular opinion, I wasn't the biggest fan of Liam Fontaine when he was at Hibs. And I actually thought
So
it was
Rob
him
Jones
that
then.
scored the goal in the
Both
cup
scored in
final.
cup finals. Both scored in cup finals, didn't they?
Yeah, but I thought it was him that scored the winner in the Scottish Cup final. And I remember turning to my dad and going, fucking Liam Fontaine! Liam Fontaine! And he was like, what?
Ruined the moment for your dad.
Ruined it for me because I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Liam Fontaine is good. No, and then now that I look back on it, Fontaine was actually a really good player for Hibs.
Good
Last
professional.
left-footed centre half that was signed as well, by the way.
Yeah, but I'm still going to have to go Rob Jones.
Rob Jones or Gary Caldwell.
Rob Jones.
Rob Jones or Paul Hanlon.
Oh. Paul Hanlon.
Paul Hanlon or Ian Murray.
Oh, fuck's sake. Ian Murray.
Ian Murray or Effie Ambrose.
I loved Effie Ambrose. Effie Ambrose, entertainment value.
Effie Ambrose or James McPake.
Effie Ambrose.
Fucking every day, right?
Effie Ambrose or Effie Ambrose or Sol Bamba.
Effie Ambrose. By a ball here.
Effie Ambrose or Ryan Porteous.
Oh. I think because of the type of player that he went on to be, I think Ryan Porteous, because he had a bit of Effie Ambrose in him. Just know the backflips.
Right. Germany.
Brilliant. So what you're saying is, in the 21st century, your favourite Hibs defender is Effie Ambrose.
No, I said Ryan Porteous at the end.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
Aye.
So your centre half pairing is Ryan Porteous and Effie Ambrose then.
Oh, that's a fucking bomb scare. That's a bomb scare
By the
at the
way,
back.
That's entertainment value if I've ever seen it.
That's ball playing defender and ball playing defender.
Aye. You want box office, Liam? You get it. Good man.
Okay. If you want
Tony,
entertainment, don't go to the pictures.
Is that
go
who you would have
road.
finished on? If you went through those names, is that
Oh,
who you would have ended up on top?
I was a huge Porteous man, even though he had real downturns. He took on too much responsibility at times. I mean, I could sit here and talk about the pros and cons of Ryan Porteous and how he had everything. He's the one with the highest ceiling out of all of them, as you're maybe seeing, witnessing now, because he has absolutely everything to be a real top level defender. Ryan Porteous is the only thing that's going to let him down. Probably is the beauty of watching Ryan Porteous when he plays for Scotland is because he has to take it so seriously. His concentration levels are so high in those games, and you basically see how good Porteous could get to that level mentally of being switched on at all times, because he has the lot. There's not a thing lacking in terms of attributes to be a centre half. So I can definitely see where you're going with that. The hardest one there was the Darren McGregor and Rob Jones, because you're talking about like Mr. I mean, McGregor's still involved. McGregor takes Leith Athletic. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't be more fucking Hibs. He couldn't be more fucking Hibs. So I'm not going to answer. There you go.
I'm actually quite shocked and upset that there was no Francis Dicko option, because he would have been my winner.
Right, so we'll move on to midfielders. And Tony, if you thought Liam had it tough, right. We're going to start off relatively tame, but we're ending strong. That's all I'm telling you.
Okay, I'll be taking Liam's first question was an absolute.
I would like to think you're starting off a lot easier than what Liam had to start off with. So Zamama or Joe Newell?
Oh,
you like Newell? I do like, but Zamama with the Moroccan hat, League Cup final, scored a few goals against Hearts. Newell probably have more of an impact overall as a Hibs player, and he's captained and he's had to play in shit teams, and Zamama didn't really have to do that. But I think Zamama again for those moments, and I'll go for Zamama.
Zamama or Liam Miller?
Zamama.
Zamama or Slivka?
Oh,
Zamama or Boozy?
see.
Boozy or McGeoch?
Oh, right, I've got this is one that I know people like because I had a hard on for McGeoch when he was a Hibs player, and he was and it's like again just the player with the right team with the right setup,
Yeah.
how good he looks, and he's never able to recreate that at other clubs. I think McGeoch speaks. It's always interesting McGeoch and 5A actually how they speak about like they moved on, but they probably both regret it because the setup they had at the clubs worked the blend that they had with other midfielders. But Boozy's just a cooler player, man. So it's going to have to be Boozy. It's called Boozy.
Boozy or try to put a bit of variety in here and reach out to other audiences. Boozy or Matty Jack for the older audience.
Oh, Matty Jack for me. I mean, in Lucerne, when Matty, I mean, my when I was a Bairn, my Hibs.net name was Matty Jack Legend. That was
I don't think, and this is the sole reason I put him in. I was obviously quite young at the time, and I'm only really now starting to appreciate just how good he was at the time. Although I've seen him play, and I had a season ticket at the time, and stuff like that. But I don't think people now, i.e., even Liam's age or even like the younger generation then, have no idea just how good he was for his time as well.
We named a position after him as well. And we didn't replace him till maybe a decade to Bartley. Like genuinely, like maybe even longer than that. But probably is longer than that. Till Bartley,
15 years.
Till he was actually replaced. He had the famous dive that won the penalty against the Alan Combe, where they pretended to headbutt the linesman, and then it took 10 minutes to get them out. And Jack was like so limited, such a limited player. It's but again the blend of the midfield because he had Latipi and John O'Neill. Like what he was able to do was absolutely ideal for that team. And again, it's like right place, right time. Really smart from McLeish because he was a centre half, moved him into midfield, and that made his career at Hibs. And the fact that he's got a pub that he has, and then they've also got the added fact we ended up being his biggest club he played for, probably the team that he remembers the most. He still supports us to this day. He's got his own pub where he welcomes in Hibs fans. I'm going to Dusseldorf in Germany. I've never been for the Euros, so that's the first thing I'm going to do is go there. Like the class, and he takes so much time with Hibs fans, and he seeks them out. He goes there and sitting smoking a fag, talking to everyone getting a picture with him, young and old. Like obviously he transcends. He was just on that away trip with everyone. There was no. He was just on. It was just fucking absolutely brilliant, and I loved him as I had number when I was a kid. I took number when I played, and I mean quote unquote very much. I played defensive midfield at the same age, and I had number 19 as my strip. So I was obsessed with Matty Jack. It's good to see when people are shite at football that they can still be good, and that's good for us all.
So, speaking of people that were shite, which is what you've just done, let's speak of someone that's no so shite at football. Matty Jack or Scott Allen?
It's hard because it's like a personal thing with Matty Jack, and as I said, there's so much more to him.
I told you we were ending strong. I gave you the heads up. It's not going to end well for you.
But I still think it has to be Scott Allen because he played so many times for the team and had so many brilliant moments.
Scott Allen or John McGinn?
What's John McGinn?
John McGinn or Kevin Thompson?
John McGinn.
John McGinn or Scott Brown?
John McGinn.
Brilliant. That ended how I expected it to end, if that makes sense.
Because John McGinn, over a period, he stayed at Hibs for a while. He got the club good money. He's went on and he still wears the badge almost, even though he's away. He still
he loves Hibs,
and he loves Hibs
as well.
And he was brilliant. And that just before he moved to he's like one of the most likable players on the planet, possibly. And I think every club like Villa, how he's loved, Scotland fans like the West, you can see that, and just to see also like what he achieved in Scottish football was pretty unique, winning 2 cups with 2 separate provincial clubs or whatever. And just I always really respect what happened when after that season, before we got in the Premier League, after he went with the Championship, he was a boy, skinny, and he'd obviously realised how good he was He obviously had that realization that if I put in this effort, and he comes back a fucking machine for the Premiership season. That 7 weeks or whatever between, he's obviously putting so much work, and so he's obviously something's clicked. He's realised, he's listened to the right people, and then he's taken off. He's about to captain a team to a European trophy, and he's about to qualify for the Champions League in England. Very difficult thing to do, and he's going to be the talisman of the national team in Germany. You couldn't be prouder of someone as a Hibs fan. You couldn't be prouder.
It's a shame.
I feel like he's
it's a shame we're not going to
like
get
he's my
full
real
use
addy.
of that sell-on fee.
Yeah, that's the only thing. The only thing. Too good.
Right, what we'll do is we'll move on to the attackers now. We'll fire through this one as well. I must admit, I think this one's a little bit more straightforward in comparison to defenders and midfielders, but I'll let the two of you bounce it out together before we move on to the next name. So we're going to start off with two cult heroes, iconic figures, Benji or Malonga.
Oh,
Fuck you. They're like two of my favourite players. Two of my favourites. Oh, I really hate you for that one.
Benji.
Malonga was like the coolest player. The coolest.
He was brilliant.
And
I don't care
shit
about
to
the Rangers.
Yeah, all that. He had so much going for him. And like, he noise up the old boys as well. He hates seeing players who play in that style. It's just so much. But Benji's probably one of my favourites. But I said it on Twitter to you. The right coach at the right time with a guy like Benji, he was packing a lot.
Aye,
and
you're right.
I didn't think we've ever had a striker of that style. The wee stocky street fighters with both feet, no back left, skill, can fight, can scrap. He was brilliant, and he made another one who maybe left at the wrong time.
Yeah,
and that iconic celebration against Hearts when he first joined, brilliant. Benji or Jamie McLaren?
Benji for me.
Yeah, I loved McLaren, but Benji.
Second period for McLaren really works against them.
I know. Big game player as well, though. Scored loads of huge goals for us against Old Firm, against Rangers and stuff like that. Benji or Lee Griffiths?
Lee Griffiths.
I mean, maybe not the soundest cunt, but it still has to be Lee Griffiths.
For footballing ability alone.
Yeah.
Lee Griffiths or Kevin Nisbet?
Lee Griffiths.
Oh, see, I really like Nisbet.
And how he came back with his injury again, similar to McGinn, it looked like somebody really fucking worked on it to come back as good as he could be.
Griffiths was, whenever he was on the park, he thought that there was a chance that we were going to score. I think for a lot of the time where we had Kevin Nisbet, he was isolated and he was being forced to drop too deep to get involved with the play, and it really didn't suit him. So
Griffiths had to do that,
Lee
he
Griffiths
could shoot at 30 yards. So
if Lee Griffiths had to come deep and he could come deep, pick up the ball and
I think as fans, we latch on to moments more than anything else, whether it be players or managers or periods of time. And Kevin Nisbet, brilliant finisher. Obviously, it's not working out for him now, but obviously the bulk of his career is.
He's injured. But
that's what I'm saying. It's not working out for him.
A lot of the signs sound like he's going to be extremely injury prone for the rest of his career.
Yeah, exactly. But then he was obviously in that COVID football period as well. What you can take out of that is whatever you can take out of it. Whereas if you think about Lee Griffiths, we've spoken about him on a number of occasions already. You think about moments. Whereas if you compare it to that Kevin Nisbet moments, you've got maybe one, maybe two. Again, probably because we weren't in the stadium when he was banging in 50 goals with Martin Boyle and Christian Deutsch. Speaking about people that gave us moments, Lee Griffiths or Anthony Stokes?
Scott just has, again, the two, not very particularly sound, now loitering in jail as we speak.
Yeah, Stokes.
It has to be when they cut almost single-handedly.
Oh, by far the single-handedly best individual performance I've ever seen in my life in any game across the world.
Could have got 4 or 5 that day.
Stokes or Fletcher?
Stokes
or O'Connor?
No, Stokes for me.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Liam, this one might be a little bit difficult for you. Stokes or Cummins?
Jason Cummins.
Cummins is cool.
I think Jason Cummins, for me, I don't think anyone beats Cummins. I don't think Griffiths beats Cummins for me.
There's one player who does, and when he comes up, he's going to win the whole thing for me. So we'll wait and see if when he comes up, he must be coming.
So I think you're at the moment, Tony, you're going to Cummins.
I'll let him have Cummins because Cummins.
Right, okay, but that's because you know that's because you know what's coming. You know what's coming, and I assume. And it's funny you say that because next in line, Jason Cummins or Derek Riordan.
Derek Riordan.
Unbelievable.
Derek, so to end the attacking players, we've then got Martin Boyle or Mixu Patalainen, but.
Riordan over both of them.
Riordan over
Riordan tops that.
That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
To be fair, I did say that. So excluding Latape, excluding Sozzi, what we're saying is the best 3 players per position, best player per position since the 21st century is Ryan Porteous, John McGinn, and Derek Riordan. That's not bad. That's a Hibs 3.
I'm not against it.
And all 3 Scottish lads as well.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive.
Well, shows you maybe what we're missing in the current side, isn't it? Right. Speaking of current sides, I hate to bring it down onto an absolute damper.
Yeah, that was such good fun.
Is this how we're going to end the episode?
Do you know what? Right, what we should do from now on? No previews, any games. No reviews, any games, unless we win big games. All we'll do is we'll just
talk about the good times,
and we'll talk about decent times until decent times happen again.
I tell you what, we'll be able to get like fucking another episode and a half's worth of decent times out because there's not been many, has there?
Just see, lads can just kick about naming footballers' names, and it's fucking brilliant. It's fine.
You're right.
Quality, man.
And saying that for the listeners, we've got quite a few things lined up. We've got. You'll unfortunately have to deal with me hosting for the next 4 or 5 episodes, but you definitely won't be disappointed. We've got games lined up. We've got best things lined up. I don't want to give too much away, but and we're going to try and have different people on different weeks. Tony's blessed us with his presence this week. It won't be the last time he blesses us with his presence either. And we've got other people joining us between now and the end of the season as well. So I know that we're doing lots of different stuff. Down the slope are doing different stuff. Long bangers are always mixing it up as well. So loads of good Hibs content out there for you between now and the end of the season. Considering
none of us want to talk about the fucking games.
That's exactly how I was going to finish it because there's not great content on the pitch at the moment. But to bring us to a close, we are obviously going to preview the upcoming weekend, and bring a little bit of a damper down on it as well. But it would be rude, especially for us, Tony, not to discuss the current situation and where we find ourselves at the moment. I know Liam and Craig done it the other week there. We're going into a game where, on the face of it, there isn't really anything to play for. Obviously, we're in the bottom 6 now. Since the last episode that we recorded as a podcast, the statement came out. Just before we talk about Monty, because... And I'm going to refer you back to what we spoke about when you were on before the Derby game at the end of last year. What did you make of this statement, and how do you read and interpret that statement?
I think the statement really doesn't say anything, and I think that's deliberate. They're just keeping all their options open with Montgomery, but it's so hard to see with that how well he can possibly do. You've got, we're talking about the Black Knights. You're talking about Foley coming in, just with the treatment of what happened with Gary O'Neill at Bournemouth. It seems, and the fact that Foley's taking a seat on the Hibs board, which means he's not going to be a passive investor. He wants to have a say in what we're doing, and obviously the idea is, it really just sounds like that they're going to be running the football side of the club, and that's how it sounds that they're going to be making this review of everything. That they're saying it because they don't want to risk an almighty collapse under Montgomery, where things could get really hairy for us. You don't want that with everyone just down to, including the manager, etc., etc. So I think they're just trying to keep themselves safe, and then someone else coming in is going to do the dirty work for them in the end anyway. So they can say what they're saying now is quite easily, and they will give him a chance, but in the end, someone else is going to come in, and he'll give Montgomery the bullet. He will.
Matter of time more than anything else, yeah. Liam, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on the statement. I was talking to one of my mates actually about the whole Black Knight takeover and stuff like that. Things like this in football, I don't know if you both agree on this or not. Things like this in football don't just happen overnight. In football terms, we recently appointed Montgomery, right? And in recent times in football, and speak again, Black Knights have came in and obviously they've now got a stake in the club. I do wonder, and I completely back what Tony's saying, and it will potentially be a matter of time. The statement doesn't really say anything without saying a lot. It probably will be a matter of time until Montgomery potentially leaves the current role, which is a shame for him because he's moved his family over and everything like that, and he's really tried to buy into it. But my concern is, if by the time we got the deal through, who's to say that they didn't already have a say in Montgomery getting appointed? Do you know what I mean? If they know that, all right, we're going to buy into this club, they already don't have a manager. We could have a say here. We could influence this and set us up before we even get in. Obviously, nothing officially was done. Nothing officially was signed. But
I wouldn't be surprised because we had to.
These kind of things would have been lined up. They would have been looking to invest into Hibs a long time before they actually did. A long time. So it probably under Lee Johnson's tenure, well, definitely under Lee Johnson's tenure, and that's maybe what then caused us to actually finally pull the trigger a lot later than what we should have. So I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Liam, as well as maybe the statement.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Black Knight had a wee bit of a say in it. Obviously, we had to pay a wee bit of compo to Central Coast to actually get Monty over here in the first place. So you think, I mean, maybe. I think it's all just kind of speculation. And in terms of the statement, like Tony says, I think it's just a fat load of nothing. I don't really think it says an awful lot. I do think they needed to come out with something, and I think that will do. That statement will do. I mean, they're not exactly going to come out and say, "Oh, this is fucking shite." If he doesn't win his next X amount of games, then he's getting sacked. So they're not going to come out and say that. Might be getting said behind closed doors in private conversations with Nick Montgomery and in the higher ups, but they're not going to come out and say anything like that. I do think though that his coat is on an extremely sugary peg at the moment, although I don't think it's a difficult one because us Aberdeen, Motherwell really don't have anything to play for, and I don't think Aberdeen or Motherwell are going to get dragged into those relegation scare spots. So the last 5 games of the season are just going to be dead rubbers really for us three, at least. I think, the only other teams that have got something to play for, I think, are Ross County and St Johnstone. Livy are gone. So it's only really they two. If he doesn't pick up good wins, good performances in the remaining fixture this season, I don't think he's going to be out of a job come the end of it. I think if he is out of a job, it'll be like Lee Johnson at the start of next season.
Well, that's a fucking disaster.
It is, but I just think with the way that we are at the moment, if we'd have managed to scrape our way into the top 6 and get Celtic and Rangers early on and got pumped off with both of them, I think he would have been away. But I just don't think that there's going to be enough purchase in poor results and performances against teams in games that really don't mean anything. I don't think there's going to be enough purchase in that to give him the chop. And I'm not an advocate for him getting sacked, but you got to look at the big picture in terms of football and success. And are we going to get it when Nick Montgomery get the charge?
To be able to defend them at the moment either. Do you know what I mean? There's not really any grounds to sit there and be like, right, okay, this is, and you can't really fight his cause. We spoke about it before we went, and started recording. There isn't really anything to sit there and be like, right, okay, this is what he's done, this is what he's doing. And Tony's right in what he's saying. That would be an absolute disaster if we did wait until the beginning of next season and do the exact same as what we've done a year ago. We're just rinse and repeat. I think, for me anyway, if the club need to be bold in the decision that they're making, whether they make a decision between now and the end of the season, if he doesn't get the results, if that statement is made to be like, you need to win your games or you're gone, or if it's just a holding statement just to kind of hush the support, one of the two. If he's still here and if he gets the summer, he needs to at least, for me, he won't, but he would need to at least get past January next year.
Yeah,
This-
this
would
is
need a
this is
clean
what
run. He would need a
this is
clean
what
run
Craig
at it.
said last week. He said if we are sticking with him, we need to stick with him. We can't stick with him and then turf him out 3 or 4 games into the league season. That's not going to work, because then whoever you get in is not got a summer window. They've only got the winter window, which is notoriously difficult to do any half decent business. And I mean, we did all right business in this winter window, but Craig said he needs to get till at the very least Christmas, because we can't keep going through this vicious cycle. I thought about it a few years ago. My English team, Forest, went through a period of 2 managers every season for about 6 years, when the old owners were in charge, and it was, if it's not instant success, it's you're out the door. And the turnover of players was huge. The turnover of managers was 2 a season. It was sometimes even 3 a season. It was really, really, really ridiculous. I just don't want us to get to that point.
And if you can indulge me for a minute, I just wanted to go through some of the reasons why I didn't think he can. Why I don't think
it's funny, Tony. It is funny you say that, because I was going to come to you to go through some of that stuff as well, because a lot of the stuff that you will be covering in a second are very, very strong, very, very valid points. Like I've already alluded to it, there's not really any reason to sit here and defend them, but there's a hell of a lot to not back them. We obviously had you on for the Derby preview tail end of last year, again, when we had loads of games and we had loads of Derby stuff set up. An episode that you can go back and listen to at any point. We didn't really touch on the actual game itself because we weren't doing well at the time. Back then, even then, we were discussing he needs to get a couple of results. He needs to get stuff running. He's letting a lot of points drop. He's not able to implement this. Like at that point, we weren't even talking about he needs time, he needs this, he needs that. It was a case we need success and we need it soon. And fast forward 5 months, we're in the same position again. So what's been your overall thought process since then to now?
Well, most people's reasoning for keeping them around seems to surround we can't keep sacking managers, and I really, really agree with that. And I'm desperate to build something. And I wanted Monty when he was mooted. I actually wanted him as the manager, and was excited to have a manager with a clear style, identity, fundamentals, and probably more importantly, like an upwardly mobile manager who's had some genuine success. So I've been trying to search for anything that convinces me he should stay, but he just come up against huge blockades every single turn. It's like starting with needing time and being patient. And he had a style that he came in and he wanted to implement, and he seemed to be wedded to a 4-4-2, despite it being to the detriment of Levitt, Ewan, Venti, and the centre halves at that stage. And I was like, well, fair enough. If he really insists that this is the way he wants to play in the style, and he goes with it, then fine. I can understand why he's decided to do that, even though it's the detriment. This is a long-term thinking. But the fact that he went again, he signed some players, and yes, they are better players. He was willing to change then. But if he was willing to change then, why not change before? If he's not wedded to that, he did. Like, they're not as good players, I get it, but Diego can play that role, defensive midfield. Levitt could have played in Marconde's role. You still could have had more balance, more protection. And at the same time, so that had the detriment of it. Ewan, you see the difference with Ewan between when he's being playing that 4-4-2 or whatever you want to say, the amount of work him and Boyle have to do, that we lose the impetus every time. Venti, he said himself, he ruined him. He actually basically said that because he was asking him to drop deep all the time and play in that simple way. So none of that worked. And then I was like, it was positive that he brought in young players, but then he exposed the young players. Like what he done with Rory Whittaker, because he had Ewan in front of him all the time, playing a 4-4-2, everyone just targeted him. He put Whittaker's confidence through the floor. It's not just about playing young players. That's one thing. You have to make the correct environment to bring them through. And Whittaker, again, it didn't go well. People can going in there, and it shouldn't have went like that. And so, and then like with the style, as I was saying, I think he's kind of moved away from that. I don't think he's so set at the passing for the bag. It's nowhere near to the level that it was. He's been willing to go more direct, and that means that he was always willing to change, and he just didn't do it. So he's killed he killed the good times for him. And then you come on to the in-game management and the selections. I mean, you can go back as far as the St Mirren game in the Cup, where his subs had a detrimental effect, and that's happened a lot. And I was thinking, he's learning on the job. That's fine. So, like, you keep on seeing him change over the years. But even as recently as St Johnstone at home, which was a fucking massive game. It was a massive game. And he moved Triantis back, which was bizarre. He dropped Yuan, even though we'd finally created a partnership in the forward areas. We were in no position at all to start changing things when players are coming at get him and Melida were scoring loads of goals like that. Why would you change it like that? Then he was playing Marcondes up front by himself, even though it didn't work in the Rangers game. He had the Fondra back, that looked good. Then he inexplicably just changes it every time. It doesn't really make any sense. And then the stuff with Yuan against Ross County, why is he not learning that if you're going to be asking him to do a defensive shift when you're 1-0 up in the last 10 minutes, it's not going to work. We all know it. You should know it. You should learn that as your time in getting back. Another thing that I had a problem with is the time spent with the team. They get worse. So when he first came in and he's doing it, we played some really good football. And we were on top of teams. That Dundee game, like 20 shots on goal. You're like, right, I can see where we're going now. I can totally understand it. But the longer he's with that team, they got worse. Then in January, new players come in. There's an upturn in form. Then the minute they've been with them for quite a while, that form dissipates. Rocky Bashiri is an individual. Goes away, he's struggling, goes away to the AFCON, comes back when he's not been getting coached. He's fucking brilliant for weeks. And then until eventually it sort of like pales, it moves down again. So that's like, I'm not sure he's that. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He's not really comfortable in his own skin anymore. He's questioning himself all the time. And see if you know, like the two things that have been the problem is the late goals, all right? But see if we were playing really good football and we were dominating games and you were impressed, I would allow for the late goals. I'd be like, right, that's the thing we're going to have to sort in the summer. But there's neither or. You're not seeing the performances improve and you're not seeing the mentality improve. So there's neither of those things. I'm happy to give the manager time as long as I can see one of what he's implementing is something that you can understand. And this is before you come to the thing that I hate the most, the lack of charisma. Because the lack of charisma means that if you're doing shite on the pitch, there's nothing else to go on. You only have what's going on the pitch. You can't get on board with them because none of that happens. And then some of the quotes that you had, like the Aberdeen one, may the best team win and all that fucking shit. This is absolutely like nonsense. My mate Chris, who I said started doing Down the Slope recently, he made it really stuck to me the point he made about this. Because he was saying, like, in the A-League, they'll talk like that as a group because it's probably more about improving the league. The same with the MLS, it's like a joint thing. It's a joint thing that everyone's involved in. It try to raise the profile of the league, raise the standard of the league, everyone doing it together. So over there, that kind of thing was. But over here, this is the real stuff. This is the real stuff. People are absolutely fizzing. People, they don't give a shit if the game's good. They want to win. And that has to happen. And if you're going on with that type of language, you're going to lose everyone so fast. And then I wanted to give him a break with the referee decisions. That's fine. I think he was unfortunate there. But I balance that out with he also got loads of opportunities to make the top six anyway, because the other teams around him weren't getting that many good results. So I feel that balances itself out, is that the opportunities were given back to him. He had a really favourable run in terms of the top six fixtures. St Johnstone at home and stuff like that. You're not going to get better than that. And then Motherwell away, who've got fuck all to play for, really. They've got they could win, but even when you go 1-0 up, they're still able to get you. And things. So there's so many, all those different things makes it's just impossible to find the thing that you're going to hook onto that isn't just, you just didn't want to keep sacking managers. There's nothing else that you can go to. And thank you for that. Thank you.
Get him out, Sharon.
See,
right now, you can take a breath,
like, listen, I knew that you were coming with that. I knew that everything that you've just said is absolutely spot on. I can't disagree with that. Liam can't disagree with that. There is a couple of things I want to not dive into a little bit more, but just kind of ask the question and get your thought on it as well. But before we do that, when we do our award show at the end of the season, the moment of the season for me is going to be what has just happened in the last 3 or 4 minutes. Nothing that's happened on the pitch.
Shame, Shaun.
Nothing exactly, and I'm proud of it. I've never been prouder. Never been prouder. Tony talks about being proud of John McGinn. I'm proud of that rant. I'll tell you that. You mentioned there as well about the players quite a lot in that as well, and they need to take some level of responsibility. Of course they do. However, the buck does lie with the manager. Naturally, as we've seen over many managers, that a lot of these players have seen. you touched a couple of times there about changing philosophies, originally not wanting to change and then changing. Do you think he's potentially got himself in a sticky situation where he's maybe overcoached the players and then maybe complicated things by then doubling down and then try to change it again? And then the players are like, well, maybe this guy isn't what we thought he was when he first came in, and they can't really identify with him. And I'm not saying he's lost the dressing room, because it doesn't look like that. Maybe he's scared to lose the dressing room, and maybe that's why he's maybe changing as much as he is. Like I said, I'm not trying to sit here and defend him, because there is no defending him. I'm just wondering if do you think that that's maybe what has led to where he's at now?
There's a lot of rumours, and again, you don't know these things are true, and I can't claim to know, but the stuff after the St Mirren game, when there's the Barney, East Mains, my gut instinct is the players have had a Barney at him, because things changed after that in the way that he was willing to play and the way he was willing to line up, and obviously he had new better players, and things changed from there. But I think if you're a guy like him who came in probably preaching values, style, and then when you move away from it, people, it's not that people dislike you, it's not that they lose you, but there maybe that respect starts to erode at that point, and you stop listening as much. And then
that St Mirren game is a perfect example. Everyone has spoke about it, and you're right, everyone did change, and for a period it was better. Like you said, we've brought in better quality players, but the same things keep happening.
The longer they're with them, it goes down. That's the truth. That's exactly what's happened.
And he keeps making the same tactical mistakes as well, and bringing on players that ultimately aren't good enough to make a difference in the squad. Do you think he's maybe scared? Again, this isn't necessarily about losing the dressing room, but scared to maybe not keep the dressing room happy as well, and maybe that's why he's making these reoccurring mistakes, try to get himself over the line to the end of the season. We talk about this whole overhaul, big summer window needed. Do you think he's maybe trying to get himself over that line, and maybe that's why the statement says what it says? Get himself over the line, get the backing that he needs, implement what he needs to implement, and then we go again.
Yeah, there's obviously the thing that the one thing I do really feel sorry for him is you bring in a project manager and you do it it wasn't mid-season, it was at the very start, but when you take away that pre-season, when they don't marry up, you don't bring in those types of manager. Like what Aberdeen doing with Thielen, that this is the time to do that. Like whether it goes right or wrong, they're given, if you're going to bring in a project manager who wants to preach a style and wants to do all that you kind of have to give them the pre-season. So I do feel sorry for him there, and possibly the club might think about doing that, but there's so many other red flags and worries about his in-game management that feel like he's got so much to learn in a league where other people are being wily. My assumption is it just isn't quite like, it's not as cutthroat in the league. That's the truth. That's not me downplaying the standard of anything, but there's no way it's as cutthroat in terms of like the way managers will do cute things, the players on the park, all the things that they're willing to do. These people that have been immersed in winning games of football and doing whatever it takes to win it for their entire lives. You know, when your Bairns playing football, man. I mean, fucking hell, like Hutchie Vale used to cheat. They cheated to go to like the Gothair Cup and that, playing at different age groups to win youth tournaments in Scotland. You know, this is like this is how it is here, and everyone's going to do everything. And if you're not up to that task to be willing to go in line with that cuteness and be willing to do that behaviour, then you're going to get fucked. You're going to get shagged for it. That's what's going to happen to you. Other people are going to take advantage of you.
You're absolutely spot on. I'm telling you, this is the best. Do you know what I said earlier on, right? The single-handedly best individual performance I have seen was Anthony Stokes on the 21st of May. I think Tony's performance tonight is a close second to that on the 23rd of April 2024. This will go down in history, regardless of what happens with Monty, whether he stays or whether he goes. I might send this to Monty. I
look like an arsehole.
I might send this to Monty, and then maybe that give him the kick up the backside that he needs. So either way, it's going down in history. Liam, we'll bring it to a close. We've obviously had a absolute whale of a time tonight. Great laugh. Absolutely love it. Like I said, I would rather do stuff like this than do previews and reviews. For sure. Just before we bring it to a close, the last, very quickly from both of you, is how, a double barrel question, how do you see the rest of the season playing out? And yes or no answer, is Monty in charge come the beginning of next season?
Right, I've got 3 words for how the season is going to play out. Couldn't care less. Honestly.
And the answer to the other question,
Yes, he will still be in charge, I think.
Tony?
End of the season, I think we'll not get relegated, but I think we're going to get a fright because I think we're going to lose the first 2 games, and then it'll get to and then we're like, oh, that's it's possible. There'll be like, well, it's possible if this happens, and then we'll scrap. We'll get a point against Aberdeen or Motherwell at home. That'll keep it safe. That's what I think will happen.
Or we'll beat County away and we'll go, we are staying up. Say we are staying up.
And I think there's a thing, maybe in the last decade, Motherwell at home midweek in a dead rubber might be the lowest attendance we've had in the last 10 years as a quote. And no, I don't think Monty will be in charge at the start of next season.
Oh,
okay. Well, thank you ever so much for both of you joining us this evening. I hope everyone that's listened and watched has enjoyed that as much as I've enjoyed it. Absolute great laugh.
are we not doing
It's a
questions?
shame.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about questions. I've enjoyed it that much that I've completely forgot that we've even got questions. I'll let you go off with the questions, Liam, and then you can bring us to
Okay.
close. But I had chicken and chips for dinner before you ask what's for dinner. Tony, what did you have?
Well,
I've not had my dinner yet. I came straight. I was at class for the gym, and then I was doing this, and I didn't really. I think we'd do 2 hours, but I've thoroughly enjoyed
Neither
it.
did I. Neither did I. Neither did I.
I'm having chicken wraps tonight. I've still not had my dinner either. I was like to the missus, I was like, oh, Ken, what? We're not starting till 7, so I'll maybe get my dinner before. And then I was like, nah, it's all right. I'll no rush myself. It's all right. I'll get it at 8, half 8.
Because I like eating and then not having to do anything after. That's always the way I feel. I always like to eat and then that's me settled.
That's what I'm like. Usually I need to eat and do the editing, but I've already explicitly said I'm going to do that in the morning because I can't be arsed.
Well, there's no rush. This pod's not really any rush to go out. It's not really time stamped at all, is it? At all.
Exactly. Aye, so I'm on chicken wraps tonight. Chicken wraps for dinner. Did you say what you had there, Tony, or what you're having?
Oh, what I'm going to have, I think it's something to do with. Give me 1 second. 1 second.
He's a way to find out. So we'll move on.
That is
we'll move on quickly.
That's commitment. That's commitment to the cause. He's a way to check the fridge to see what he's got.
Harvey's asking, what was your favourite Lee Johnson quote, Shaun?
I'm
This is
more intrigued as to see what Tony's going to say.
Here he comes.
Turkey meatball pho. So like a Vietnamese soup pho. Mandy's made it. It's brilliant with turkey meatballs in it. There we go.
Oh,
tremendous.
Wow.
Tremendous.
Wow.
That is my favourite Lee Johnson quote. I'm not going to use the one that you're going to say
as well.
Right, okay. I'm going to bring it up anyway because you've still not collected the flag that you got created that says we don't care about what Sharks think about Mondays or whatever it is. So I don't know why you got that created in the first place. However,
well,
we move
because
on.
I thought he was going to be in charge for Villa away, and then I was obsessed with that quote. Got the flag made up, and
then he got sacked.
And then he got sacked. I'd never had the heart to go and collect the flag, so it's still sitting in the shop. Cost me like 30 quid as well.
My favourite Lee Johnson quote is the run like you're getting chased by a lion. Along those lines, whatever it was it said about Will Fish.
My favourite one was we are hungry men who need their dinner or something.
Aye, yeah. The favourite one of me was at Hibs, just because of what the rumour is of what was said back. If I was a player, I'd be knocking on Celtic's door asking for a shot, saying, please tell what you do. And someone said, thanks, maybe Aidan McGeady apparently said back to him, you should go and talk to Ange Postecoglou the same way or something. I don't know how true that is, but he definitely made that quote, and that was always a rumour that McGeady spoke up, and it sounds like something McGeady would do.
Probably.
It does.
So this is I've just typed in Lee Johnson hungry into Google to see if I could get the actual quote, and it was, today was poor, but as hungry men we must look for our supper.
It's like that quote that Marcondes said when he joined. He's like, I was speaking to my agent, and at the moment I'm like a cold pasta, and I need to heat myself up. So I've came to Hibs to heat myself up.
I thought that was a wee bit
pasta.
disrespectful, by the way, from Marcondes. I didn't like that for him.
I don't mind it. I don't
Stupid
like Lost in
haircut as well.
Translation.
Aye, maybe. So next up, we've got Billy, who's asking, what is on your pre-game hype playlist?
I use the one that I got all the listeners to pick from. So before a derby game last season, I put a tweet out and everyone replied with their pre-match songs, and then all I've done is just add that to my own one. I do have a couple back from like the Tony Mowbray days on mines. So like your Teenage Kicks. Is it the Silencers? Is that the right name? I think. Earth, Wind and Fire, September. They're up there for me as well. Alive and Kickin'. Yeah, my playlist, my Hibs playlist has quite a few songs on it, to be fair. But yeah, there's a thread somewhere on the ramble with it.
What about you, Tony? If you had to pick one.
Joyful Command plays is probably my favourite in terms of getting up
it's a good one.
For
It's a
getting
good
up
one.
for a Hibs game specifically, where I would say it's the one that I like to hear in the pub before game.
So my wee girl is just kind of getting into like songs that aren't in nursery rhymes at the moment. She just turned 2, so oftentimes she'll come up and go, "Daddy, the Hibs song," which is Carnival de Paris by Daddy OG. She loves it in the car. She goes, "Da, da, da, da," and high B's at the end. And I'm like, oh, to be honest, man, see if you could see what was going on the park, you would not be singing about the high B's. But she likes that one. Recently, she's been talking about the Stokesy song, "Freed from Desire," as well, and she likes 500 Miles as well. So any of them for me because she likes them.
The songs that fucking Barry plays, why do they always have to be crap, sort of like big room EDM songs? And I love electronic music. Like I mean, that's what I'm mainly into. But I never understand the choices why. My mate's always been a big advocate for getting the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Heads Will Roll as the song for walking onto the park. It's a decent show.
I mean, not too bad.
I don't mind it.
I'd much
Don't mind
prefer Teenage Kicks walking out onto the park.
It was good. That was a beautiful period to sport Hibs. That was good. Everything married up well.
Absolutely. Next up is Neil Henderson, and he asks, has Hibs free-flowing football ever been a thing post early 70s and briefly when Latape and Sozzi were playing? Fed up, bullied, and boy band, as Neil Lennon said. So it'll bring us crashing back down to reality for a minute before we finish up.
We had it a bit under Mowbray. There was flashes under Mowbray, but I think that's more about the personnel we had on the pitch rather than the philosophy that he tried to bring. John Collins tried it. John Hughes tried it. Very, very attacking football. And I guess you could argue Monty's maybe had 2 goals playing like that. 3 goals maybe at a push.
Tavares won at Dundee.
Yeah, I'd be one of them. So no is the answer. I think it's a myth.
Oh yeah, it's a bit, but it's not all about being a myth. It's more about what the culture of the support. It's not always about what's real. It's about what the fans want, what the fans think, and that's the culture of the Hibs fans, that they want that. But I think ultimately it's because we don't win a lot, so we try to find a culture that sounds cool.
Tony, the last thing that Hibs fans wanted so bad was Terry Butcher in charge, and look how that ended up.
Yeah. That's it. We went the anti Hibs way too much, and it actually ended up in the worst season of all time.
Yeah.
It was fucking shite as well. That was really bad. I said to Kevin Thompson, I was like, we've got to take responsibility as fans for Terry Butcher getting the job. We really do. We've got to take a long, hard look at ourselves in the mirror.
Him fucking shaking at the thing like that, like his cum face when he's at the thing like that. Fucking terrible.
His fucking yelly teeth. Oh, man. Right, finally, we've got Charlie, who was on Strong Opinion Hibs, and he asks, if pies were banned from being sold at grounds in the future, what would you like to see it replace as the staple food at the game? And now, I'm not going to accept pizza, burger, hot dog, because you can get all them. Or chips. I'm not taking chips.
I saw this and I had an answer set up straight away, because when we drew Aston Villa in Europe at the start of the season, not only was I delighted to be going, delighted to have got the ticket and go for the trip, they're known for having steak on chips. So I know you said you're not accepting chips, but
Nah, I would
you
accept
can get,
that.
you can get
I wouldn't accept
you
like
can get
chips
steak and chips.
curry.
But what they do is, because they've got Emi Martinez as their goalie, they do it like in a Argentinian way with like an Argentinian sauce and stuff on it. So I was absolutely desperate to get myself down there. Turns out they only give away fans drinking chips and maybe a hot dog. So they didn't even do it in that way in. So I was raging. So that would be what I would want. I'd want steak
Get
and
that
chips.
right up you, by the way.
Aye, they're fucking annoying though. Like Villa away, it was the same way you went to Lucerne away. They turned off the fucking taps for the alcohol. So you're thinking you're going to a European game and you'll get a pint. And the game, they fucking switched them off. And both even at Villa, we're like, oh, you'll get a pint at the England. But
It's
I'm
almost
lucky.
as if they knew.
Ah, yeah, just the Swiss guys, obviously, like absolutely no fucking danger. These guys are fucking reprobates.
What about you, Tony? What would you like to see the place price?
So I just feel like you want it to be like you're cutting out all the things that you can eat with your hands, because finger food is kind of what you want. So like they would obviously be like steak bakes and sausage rolls would be the obvious sort of route to go down. But it'd be quite nice getting you see no pizza, which is brutal.
Yeah, I'm saying no pizza, no hot dogs, no like chips by themselves.
It's because I suppose you're going to need to like a knife and fork. So I mean, it's nearly it's ridiculously hard, because you feel like you didn't want to be in the football with a knife and fork. You feel like it's like, unless you're going before it. I've always found the eating at football culture bizarre. You go for 2 hours. Why is it a thing? Like just eat before it or eat after it. I've never understood when people queuing up for fucking days. You see like the guys at Easter Road when they're buying. You see people buy like shitloads. And like you've got like the burger, the chips, and like a fucking pie chaser. And a fucking drink. And it's like, what the fuck? You're paying like about 20 quid. It's all shite. Even like, I know it's improved, but you know, like, and it's like, you've only got a 2 hour window where you didn't have to eat. Just eat before or after. Just have something half decent. So I've never bizarrely, but fucking just do something mad. Like fucking everyone in a fucking state try to eat spag ball. Fucking like going all the big red fucking lips or something.
Spag ball in one of the plastic cups.
yeah. Drinking shit.
I think I've been thinking.
Can you imagine that when James Tavernier comes over to take a throw in and he's getting pasta boxes chucked on him?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this all day, actually, since Charlie sent in the message, which was last night, almost 24 hours ago. And I've been thinking about it long and hard. And I think my answer is a doner hoagie.
Ooh, doner wraps. Basically.
Yeah.
It's chips in them, eh, when you do that.
Chips in them, aye, but I'd accept steak and chips. Something with like chips as like but no like chips as the main meal, Ken.
No, that's good. That's a really good one, because it's like something like that, or gyros or something like that, where you still get it in your hands and it wrap, and it wouldn't necessarily be totally messy, because the doner hoagies, at least they're all fucking held in. Yeah. Rather than when you get in the thing and it's fucking messy as fuck, you can actually eat that. And
exactly. Or like a Mexican burrito
and
or
all
something.
of a sudden, now Tony wants to eat at the football.
Yeah, like we're going to be doing fucking wrapped doner kebabs then, right? After you've had 12 pints before.
Tony's turning up 2 hours early and he's getting food.
Fucking yogurt sauce dripping down your face.
You'd be sober by the time you left.
yeah, bro, I'm off.
Be able to drive home. Oh, fucking brilliant. I wouldn't mind that, like. I wouldn't mind a wee doner hoagie at the football. I love a doner hoagie, man.
Get like fucking Angelo's chippy or whatever. One of the local chippies. To do it. They imagine going in, they can see the big thing, rotating thing behind there. And we look shit. They wouldn't fucking change it for fucking weeks. You buy it, and you open day of the season, you'd be having the same kebab at week fucking 17.
They would. I wonder if they would put like Hibs branding on the tortilla wraps.
Yeah, the big badge.
Aye.
SOL across it.
Oh man! Oh, what a place to end, Shaun, eh?
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Listen, we've maybe ran over slightly, but it doesn't matter when you're talking absolute shite about decent Hibs stuff rather than shite Hibs stuff. Thank you everyone that made it this far, especially made it through the Monty stuff and the St Johnstone preview. Definitely worth it. Loved it. Hope you two loved it as well. We'll bounce off and we'll see you all again in the coming weeks. And who knows, you might even see Tony again in the very near future. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye,
Cheers,
everyone.
lads.
Thank you.
Let's get ready to rumble.